AnitaStewart.ca, well worth the trip to her website. There's plenty of information. Okay, ready for the Sexpert? We've got Sexpert. We've got so many questions on our minds as parents and teenagers out there. This is a girl we want to talk to, Kelly. Kelly Garland, thanks for being here.
Thanks. Thanks for having me back.
Okay, I'm ready. I've been preparing for this interview. So it's just like, I don't think I've ever officially spoken to a Sexpert that I knew of. I'm sorry, perhaps I did and they didn't tell me.
Yeah, not a lot of people have.
Yes.
Yes.
So I need to know right off the bat, what makes a Sexpert?
Well, a Sexpert, I guess, would be somebody who has studied sexuality. So it's just really more of a popular culture term for someone that studies sexuality.
Okay.
I've been teaching workshops primarily in women's sexuality for about 14 years now. Still continue to do so. I do in-home workshops. I do events. I'm doing the Hillside Festival that's coming up next month. And write for magazines and online forums and that type of thing.
Okay, so for the Hillside, what do you mean you're doing that? You're standing on
I'm
a stage?
teaching a workshop in the women's tent. Yeah.
Nice. Okay,
yeah.
That's good for everyone to know.
Yeah.
So they can, you'll talk, and then is there going to be a Q&A?
I believe so, yes.
Okay,
of course, I don't think children are allowed for this one because it is an adult topic. But it is in the women's tent, and I'll be speaking on both Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hit some adult topics right now. It's actually adults dealing with how to talk to their teenagers about sex and what's going on out there. But I really want to get to, I was saying in the introduction that it's about teenagers. It's the new goodnight kiss. And I have a feeling, it has been out in the media, but that a lot of parents maybe we have our head in the sand about what's going on out there. What is the new goodnight kiss that's happening?
Well, it's oral sex.
Oral sex.
So we have a lot of teens, and when I say teens, I'm talking about when we start 13, 14, 15, 16.
Okay.
Children and teens are getting an early sex education these days. They're getting it on the school ground. They're getting it from popular culture. So in regards to the parents speaking to their children, it's something that has to be done right from the get-go so that they're giving their children the proper information. Now we're seeing culturally a lot of promiscuous sexual behavior in teens, but they don't consider it sex.
Where is that? Yeah, that's a disconnect. How did that happen?
Well, I think that there's so much focus on abstaining from sexual activity, i.e. intercourse. We're a very sort of intercourse-centered culture, where that's what sex is, sexual intercourse.
That's Bill Clinton.
Exactly.
Yes.
I did not have sex with Monica.
Right.
Exactly. So they're looking at it as, well, oral sex, and generally it's happening between females with males, not the other way around, is a way to not only want to abstain from sex, so you're keeping your promise to either your parents or yourself, or keeping your virginity intact, which sort of begs the question, what exactly is virginity? As an alternative to sexual intercourse. So they sort of minimize this, that this is not sex. This is just like a kiss.
Oh, that's why it's so minimized then, because really it's being, like there's been documentaries out there about how these teenagers are saying, well, it's not a big deal.
Sure. Well, yeah, it's not intercourse, so it's not really sex. It's just, and like I said, with younger girls doing it, I mean, that raises all kinds of questions as far as this is not a reciprocal sexual experience or sensual experience. This is a girl facilitating male desire. So let's put it that way, which has been a common theme in women's sexuality for centuries.
Right.
So parents really need to sort of look at this and be a little bit more forthcoming with their children. And I think in many ways that while a parent might have sat their child down and spoke to them about sex and sexual activity, oral sex doesn't get a whole lot of coverage because parents are uncomfortable about it.
For sure. Yeah.
So that's where it's getting skipped. Or, well, you know, there's intercourse and then there's oral sex and more. Do you have any questions? Okay. It's bedtime.
Well, my program's back on. Shush, shush, shush.
Exactly. So, I mean, a lot of it has to do with how comfortable the parents are. And also just being aware of the culture that their children are living in. We tend to sort of block some of that stuff out, or we gloss over it and underestimate children. and teens and think, oh, they don't really know what that song's about. And as I mentioned earlier, I think the number 2 song, I can't remember the title, but it's you know, my head goes round and round when you go down. So this is clearly a reference to oral sex, and it's the number 2 hit on pop radio right now.
And they know what they're talking. They know
sure,
what they're listening
kids know
to.
exactly what they're saying.
Oh, Matt, we do have a caller here. We have Marie. Hi, Marie.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Great, thanks for joining the program.
No problem.
You have a question for Kelly.
I do. Very interesting topic. What I wanted to know was, how does a parent approach their teenager on this topic if you're not even sure if they're engaging in it, but you think they might be? How do you even introduce the topic with them, and when?
Right.
Oh,
At what point do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Marie. Thanks for calling in and asking.
Yeah.
So how do we do this?
Well, number one, I wouldn't really start from the point of thinking that your child's having sex, your teenager's having sex. What you want to do is just provide them with the correct information, because what they're getting right now is from the schoolyard, their peers, what the cool thing is to do. So a lot of parents think, well, maybe I shouldn't talk to them because I'm not absolutely sure if they're engaging in this kind of sex. But as we were talking earlier, my daughter came home at the age of 5 and asked me what a particular term meant in regards to oral sex. So children are already hearing this on the playground. So by the time they're 13 or 14, they're well educated, but they're street educated.
Right.
So I would assume, I would make an assumption either way that your child's is sexually active or doing some of this oral play. I would just assume that they need the proper education.
And so how do you do that as a parent? Do you just sit them down and say, we're going to...
We'll have a martini. No,
wait, that's how Mommy got pregnant. So
yeah.
we're not doing that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it is an uncomfortable thing for some parents. I would, number one, educate yourself. Go on Google, go to the library, start looking up the reality of sex in teenagers. Mm. I mean, this has been around for a long, long time. A lot of parents think that telling their children just to abstain is going to keep them safe. Generally, the rule of thumb is if you tell your teenagers to not participate in something, they're going to, especially when it's something that their body, from a biological point of view, is telling them to do.
Right.
So
good point.
We've got society working against biology. I mean, most teenage boys wake up with an erection. So for them to think, oh no, I'm going to abstain again today, is really difficult when their bodies are telling them that they really need to.
That they're ready.
That they're ready. And the same with teenage girls as well.